I mean, you focus strictly on how am I looking, and you get obsessed with like the details and whatever. And at the same time, you're just putting your body through stuff over and over again, especially for women. Like, I'm not supposed to be that lean. I mean, nobody's supposed to be that lean.
Yeah.
So on top of it, you know, especially for women, it's so stressful on their bodies. So like the more I got into like natural health and hormone balance and whatever, the more I'm like, this is like the
It ain't that I can't stop, it's that I won't stop. I made a few plays off a flip, now I'm on top. I'm Southside Chief, homie. Yeah. What you know about it? Lake Street legend CEO, not the co-founder. What you wanna know about me? I'm so churched up. I'm the last man standing, but I went first up. Most hated, they don't say it when I roll up. The things that people say about me, they don't say close up. Check it, I ain't been to the booth in a minute. Niggas hate the fact that I'm winning. Who makes him the chief of the south side? Oh my nigga, I'm not the lieutenant. When I was in the gym, you wasn't in it. FaceTime, so my windows is tinted. If I said that shit, then I meant it. Niggas gave me the rules and I bent it.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. Another episode of Minnesota's #1 daily show live on Lake Street. Special guest in the building. We got Casie Shepherd. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So let's just get right into it. So I mean, can you just talk to me like about what your profession is as of right now? What do you?
So I'm a business owner.
Yep.
And I do a lot of things at this point, but
Okay.
I'm 100% remote. I live here in the cities, and I work with primarily like hormone balance, health. I would call myself a health coach.
Okay.
But I have a lab that I refer to. I run lab work and help people balance their systems to just feel better. Most people have like a weight loss goal or they just want to feel better. So I look at the lab work and kind of like write their whole programming around all of that, whether it's their weight loss or hormone imbalances or, you know, gut issues.
Okay.
Then I write their nutrition, their new supplement plans, that sort of thing.
Is this something that like you've been doing for a really long time, or is this something that you saw a market for? I feel like the reason I asked this, let me just preface this with, I feel like during quarantine is when a lot of people started to become very aware of their health.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of stuff like health coaches and stuff like people that are kind of are professionals in the health world outside of actual like the medical field.
Right.
Is that kind of how it worked out for you too, or is this something you've been doing for a long time?
I mean, I've owned my business for 12 years.
Okay.
COVID, I did very well, honestly. Yeah. I mean, before that, I had been training some like in-person clients, and then my goal was always to just be 100% remote. And then once I was like forced to be done with it, I was like, all right, like the universe is like pushing me to just like get there sooner.
Yeah.
Because I prefer to just kind of be like sit back and assess things and do all of that. But so personally, I'm a retired professional IFBB bodybuilder. I was a former Division I basketball player, so I've been like kind of in the fitness industry my whole life.
Yeah.
But I started more just as like a trainer working 12 hours a day, and then realized like, yeah, you can work out all you want, but people's insides are messed up. Their hormones are messed up. They're not doing their nutrition. What are they doing when they're not with me? So like my brain kind of started turning and slowly evolved to like people need a plan to follow when they're not here. Like most people can get to the gym. It's more of like, what do I do the rest of the time in my life? And so I'm like, you know, I try to like train people and then have them do some stuff with me on the side. And then it kind of just slowly over time progressed. And back when I was competing on the pro circuit, I would be training like 10 to 12 competitors a show, like in show modes to compete. And then as I got out of the industry, realizing like, you're putting your body through hell all the time doing this. This is kind of like the opposite of what I'm about at this point with like keeping the stress down, hormones balanced, as opposed to like when you're competing, your stress hormones are through the roof. You're kind of like in a state of imbalance because you're getting yourself to a place that like
your whole thing is out of whack because of the competition, like the
right.
what you have to do to be competitive. And,
right.
And I imagine, I don't know this. I was going to ask you this, but is like competitive weightlifting, is that hard on your body? That's bad for your body?
Well, so like weightlifting. So I was in the bodybuilding industry.
So I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Purely aesthetics is bodybuilding. So you're basically just getting up there, doing some poses. You're judged based on like your mass, your symmetry, your leanness, your conditioning. So it's a purely like aesthetic sport.
So bodybuilding is more like modeling.
Kind of.
Modeling your physique.
Yeah, sort of. And then there's different categories. So like, you know, you're either, you know, bigger and leaner, or you're like in bikini and you're like small and you're shaking your ass, sort of. So there's just like different categories. So the powerlifting, like whatever stuff, isn't really something that I was ever a part of. But I mean, you're lifting heavy weights for the sport.
Yeah.
But then you have like one day where you're showing off your physique at a competition.
So it's hard on you the same way that being a professional athlete in any sport is. You're putting your body through
but
stress.
in a different way. And it's interesting because I was a Division I basketball player at a high level.
Okay.
And then when I was done with that, I'm like, well, what do I do now? And I'm 6'2". Like, I'm not your average bodybuilder. They're mostly short, stocky people.
Yeah.
So when I got into it, I was like, I have a lot to fill out to like get more muscle on my body, because I was always like an athlete. That wasn't really what we went for. It was more about like being fast and athletic and strong and like pushing people around.
Yeah.
So I went from like this extreme to this extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, but it's hard in a different way because you're like hungry, you know, you're hungry and you're dieting hard and you can't eat what you want. When I was an athlete, I ate whatever I wanted, you know, not that I should have, but you can, because you're burning it off and you're like this high level competitor.
Yeah.
When you're competing, you're like on a restricted diet, having to lift heavy weights and do all this cardio to get your body fat down to this place that's not normal. So it's like harder on your system in a different way. I think bodybuilding is mentally harder than it was to be like an athlete.
Yeah. So essentially what you're saying is you realized at some point that you were worried about your outer appearance health.
Yeah.
But you were kind of just not caring about the interior of your body. Like,
yeah, I mean, you focus strictly on how am I looking, and you get obsessed with like the details and whatever. And at the same time, you're just putting your body through stuff over and over again, especially for women. Like, I'm not supposed to be that lean. I mean, nobody's supposed to be that lean.
Yeah.
So on top of it, you know, especially for women, it's so stressful on their bodies. So like the more I got into like natural health and hormone balance and whatever, the more I'm like, this is like the opposite of what I'm about at this point. So I do have a few competitors that I work with still, but they're people who I run their lab panels and I do all this stuff, and I know that they're in a really good place where their bodies can like handle it, and that they're going to keep working with me after to like come out of it in a safe place that they can sustain and that kind of thing. So,
what about mental health?
Yeah, I mean, you meet a lot of mentally messed up people that are in that sport, but like I think you see that in different avenues, like every like genre of whether it's like music or sports or whatever, like you see like a certain type of person that you run into. And I would see, I've said this before in like other podcasts, is like in the bodybuilding industry, you do meet a lot of people with like really high insecurity that are, you know, maybe trying to chase some sort of validation or get to a place to get compliments or, you know, whatever. And not that everyone's like that or it's outward, but in general, it's a high known thing in the
Have you
industry.
seen the movie Pain and Gain? Mark Wahlberg and
I think I have.
And that's like he's like that, but he's just so vain about his body, and like, you look fucking amazing,
right?
But he's still looking at himself like, I need another muscle right here. It's like,
well, and that was kind of like the toxic side of competing, I'd say, is like, even though you look great, like especially when I was on the pro circuit and these people are like the best of the best, it was like, yeah, you look great. They don't even tell you look good. It's just like, yeah, you need to bring this up. You need more muscle. Like, you're not lean enough. You're not whatever. And it's like, all you do is pick yourself apart.
Just tearing yourself down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got to a point where I was like, my body was kind of breaking down, and I just like mentally, I was like, this is just, you know, I still don't feel good. And I kind of missing being more athletic and being able to like, you know, do the athletic stuff, not just like walk around and feel like the Michelin man all the time.
Sure. Where did you play ball?
Colorado State.
Okay. Were you guys?
I grew up in Prior Lake.
Okay.
And I got recruited out there.
How good were you?
I mean, so I went out there. There was 5. I was a center power forward.
Okay.
And there was 5 seniors ahead of me. So they're like, you don't have to redshirt, but we'll give you the option if you want to.
Okay.
And then I had met like a transfer that came out there at the same time. She had to redshirt, and her and I became like best friends like right away. So I was like, yeah, like I'll redshirt. I'll get stronger. Like I'll take this first year. They're going to pay me for 5 years of school. Like I'll just take like the slow route, so I don't have to like pack my schedule full of classes every semester, you know?
Yeah.
So I redshirted my freshman year, and then I ended up starting my sophomore year.
Wow.
Which would have been like my freshman year of of ball.
Mm-hmm.
But between that, the coach that recruited me got fired.
Oh.
So we brought in a new coach, played for her for a year, and I was just like miserable. It sucked. But I loved it out there. I loved the school, loved everything about it. So I ended up like just giving up my full ride scholarship, quitting the team, and I stayed out there. Even though I owned a house out there, like I paid out of state tuition. And then I was on the like, I'm going to take 18 credits a semester just to like finish school in 4 years. So I don't have to pay another like 30 grand out of state.
Yeah.
So I ended up just like, then I had, but it was kind of nice because then I got 2 years of like, I'm a Division I athlete. This is super fun. And then 2 years of like, oh, this is what it's like to be a normal student and not have like a full-time job while you're trying to do school. And then that's kind of like when I got into competing, you know, I was like, started working out for myself and kind of got into the health stuff. And people were like, oh, you should do a show. So like, I did a show my senior year of college in 2008.
So that's like that's when it really started. Was
Yeah.
Huh.
And then I kind of got obsessed with that.
Was the WNBA like in your mind?
It was. I feel like if I would have like,
If you'd have stuck it out,
if I didn't turn pro in bodybuilding, it would have been like basketball. That's
Really?
kind of how I feel at this point.
I mean, I know there's no money in the WNBA, but
No.
overseas.
I mean,
that's
and
what I'm
honestly, even like owning a business at this point, I'm like, I make more than probably WNBA players do at
At
this
least
point.
at
And
least
then
the
what do you
majority
do
of them,
once
yeah.
you retire from the WNBA? Like you have
Yeah.
nothing now,
saying. Yep.
unless you're smart with your money the whole time. And you can probably make more money overseas.
Yep.
And then you're making tax-free money.
But you're also overseas.
Exactly.
I mean, that can probably work for some people, but I mean, you're away from your family, friends, everything. Like,
And I still had an opportunity to go overseas, even though I had like been done with college and hadn't played in a couple of years. But I was like, mentally at that point, I was just kind of over it. And
Yeah.
I still love basketball. I love to watch it. I love to go to games, you know,
yeah.
pick up games and stuff. And
Do you support the WNBA? Don't lie.
in which way?
Do you watch?
I don't.
Yeah. See.
No. You know, my favorite games to watch are like college games.
Yeah. Like men's college or
Yeah.
women's? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, women's basketball, I'm still very impressed by them, but they don't air as many games, first of all.
That's true.
But yeah, in general, like I think for sure men are just more fun to watch. Still enjoy the skill set that both have. But
I'm glad to hear you. I'm gonna let you say it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say it, but I agree with you. There's
Yeah.
just like, I need dunks. I need the dunks. I just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like men are just,
and like the game is just slower.
It is.
I mean, let's just be honest.
No, it is,
But
definitely.
then, like I said, like college games, I kind of prefer to. I mean, they look so young when you watch them now. I'm like, I never looked that young when I played, you know. But it's like, you know, I still think that the men are more fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
in
they're
the
just.
college
They're,
games.
I hate that we do this because like I'm not the I don't know. I don't want to be the guy to separate men and women.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter
It
is,
is what it
just,
is.
there's just physical differences.
Yeah,
like
it's true.
We need to just be okay with some things.
Men
that
are bigger,
true.
faster, stronger.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the reason when we see a man haul off and smack a woman, we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, there's a reason for that.
Right.
And it should be that way.
Yeah.
It is a whoa moment.
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, there just are differences. And some people, I just feel like, get so caught up in feminism. It's like,
I know.
none of you watch or support the WM. It's people like, it's like we don't need to go off on a rant on this, but I guess I sort of already am. It bothers me to see people complaining about the salaries of WNBA players. The salaries are based on viewership.
Well, I mean, where's the money going to come
There
from?
is no, that's the money that's there.
Right. I mean, you have investors in both men
Yep.
and women,
Yep.
right? But they invest for a reason.
Yes.
They're going to invest more money if they're getting more return.
Yep.
And no one's going to invest more money into the players' salaries if they're not getting a return, because
Yeah.
who's going to get that money back?
Yep. So all
So-
these keyboard warriors.
So what do you do?
Oh, the women getting paid. It's like they're not getting paid because they're less because they're women. They're getting paid because y'all don't support it.
Yeah.
There's no, the stadium is half full. They're losing money on that game.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would be curious as to like what people's suggestions are,
Yeah.
if that's their argument, you know?
yeah,
Like,
I think
what
it's
is
mostly
your-
people just don't understand the business of
Yeah.
professional athletics.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think mostly what it is just lack of understanding
Yep.
most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can't expect people to just lose a bunch of money because you're upset they're not getting paid more.
Right.
Like it's not because they're women. The reason you don't watch is because they're women. So look in the mirror. How about that?
Yeah.
Go watch then.
Do you remember when the LFL like was a thing for a while?
Yes. I do.
I think it was like 2010. It was the Minnesota Valkyrie, and I was like training for a show.
Don't they still exist?
I don't know if they do.
I think they do.
They like had a tryouts, and I was like, that would be cool, you know. So I tried out for the team.
You did.
And I made it.
Wow.
But I was like training for a show at the same time, and I remember like the first practice they had us running these like sprints. First of all, those girls were like this big.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm gonna kill one of these girls. You
That's
know.
what they wanted.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
I was like, I feel so big next to these girls. But then like I couldn't move the next day because we were doing like sprints and stuff. And I was like, these are like totally two different kinds of training. So I needed to decide one. And I was like, okay, I'm not really getting anything paid for this stuff. And I'm just going to be running around with like tiny shorts on. Just
smacking,
you know.
women that
So
are
I was like, okay.
tiny. Yeah, I mean, could have been fun.
Right.
Could have been fun. Okay, so is Minnesota the best place for a business like your business? Or do you work outside of Minnesota as well, or what?
I have remote clients everywhere.
Okay.
So I have, and a lot of that's just been because I've owned my business for 12 years, and I was, you know, in the IFBB, which is like the biggest federation. So I kind of, you know, had my name that way, and so I had all these followers. So I get a lot of my clients from social media. So I do have clients that are out of state, and like with the lab stuff, like we can send kits out. People get people lab work anywhere. The clients I have here, I don't even see in person, you know? So it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm here or anywhere else. And that was kind of my goal, to be able to work from anywhere doing what I do to help anyone.
Wow.
Whether networking in another city could be better, I mean, maybe, but I also like am known here for what I do. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of an awesome gig, really.
Yeah.
You don't really ever have to actually physically deal with people, and you're also kind of probably changing their lives.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of people that you, like clients of yours, that are people that are just sloppy and out of shape looking for help, or people that are just really in good shape but want to maintain it?
It's mostly now people who just want to feel better. Like the healing side, I would call my healing clients. They're people who are like, you know, they've been overweight, and there are some people who like I hate when people are like, oh, you're just lazy. And it's like, okay, number one, like you either are not getting away with the same stuff you used to get away with, so you think that it's hard. In reality, you're still not doing a good job with your structure. But sometimes it's like people are doing everything right and they still can't figure it out. But we're now in this toxic overload environment where these girls have been on birth control for 20 years. Suddenly they have 50 problems because of it, or they're on birth control, and then suddenly they have anxiety, suddenly they have depression, they can't sleep. Now they have all these gut issues, they have nutrient deficiencies. You know, it's like it just starts to trickle down over time. And it's like, you're doing everything right, but your internal self is not okay. And now it's going to take so much time to figure that out. And then you go to the doctor and they don't tell you anything, you're fine, or they're not going to run your levels because you're on birth control. And it's like, okay, well, there's still something going on.
So would you say it's safe to say that you kind of look at people as like vehicles over time? They're just breaking down,
in a way,
down, right? Like,
and that's how I always like kind of talk about stress, where it's like you're driving, you have the gas pedal all the way down, but your e-brake is on, you know, where you're just like running your body into the ground constantly. And that could be stress that people run through their lives, not eating enough, running on too much caffeine, dehydrated all the time, not eating enough protein. I mean, whatever the case is, it's a million things. But that's kind of like when I bring someone on, I look at like their full history, what are, you know, all the symptoms, all the things. Then I look at their labs, and then we put it all together, and that's where we figure out long-term plan. But the hardest thing is getting people to realize like this isn't going to just change overnight. You have like years of this stuff built up. You know, because it starts to change the way that your body, you know, reacts to everything. Do you deal with people in the actual medical field, like doctors and stuff like that give you shit, that give you pushback, that don't like what you're doing? So for years, probably until like 3 or 4 years ago, I had to just try to get people to like get labs done at their doctor, because I didn't have another choice. So I'd like try to send them in with a list and be like, see if your doctor run these. But then for like women, it's like we go in a very small window of their cycle, and it's like to try to line all that up and to find a doctor that's going to be like, who wants you to get these labs? And it's like, my trainer. And they're like, you're the fucking trainer? Like, no.
Those Western medicine people.
Yeah, or they
like
just
that
have
shit.
these huge egos, and they're like, you don't need that, Or they would say, oh yeah, we'll run these, and then they'd run like 2 of them, and I'm like, no, I need the full picture. I need to look at it all. So that was like a struggle. It's like, I just want to help people, and I can't because I can't look at all these things.
Yeah.
So then over time, it's been like, just such a long process of like putting my business together, where I have like kind of a team now, where I have my lab that I refer to, and they run exactly what I want, and this is how they schedule, and this is how the process works. And then once they come back, the results come to me. And then I have an NP, nurse practitioner, who we do bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So like,
who to what?
So
What's
hormone replacement, right?
Okay.
That would be like, hey, I'm going to go to the doctor. I have low testosterone. Here's some testosterone, right?
Okay.
Or a woman who's, should say she's got a thyroid problem and she needs thyroid medication.
Okay.
Right. So that's Western medicine is synthetic hormones.
Yep.
And that's like, hey, we made these in a lab.
Yeah.
And they're like fake. Like they fill the receptor site.
Yep.
But
it's a Band-Aid.
They're not really doing the job the same way. It doesn't feel the same in your body. It doesn't use them the same. So bioidentical hormone replacement therapy would be natural, actual like hormones that come from like the earth.
Okay.
And make it like thyroid hormone, for instance, they use like pig and cow thyroid cell glands, and they can break it down to figure out exactly how much thyroid hormone, put it into a medication, and it's your body's going to use it like that. You're never going to have that like, this is a foreign substance sort of.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't fight against it. It uses it that much better. So bioidentical hormones are like more of a their prescription, but they're more naturally derived. So they sort of just work better with your body, if that makes sense. And there's less side effects. There's less like cancerous things that could happen, with like estrogen and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just, like less side effects. So, the negative is that insurance typically doesn't cover it. Yep. So if people need it, they're paying out of pocket for it. And then we use a compounding pharmacy. So it's like a pharmacy that will go in and they mix up the exact amounts. So instead of you saying, hey, I'm going to take this pill from a lab, it's 25 milligrams, we get to determine the exact amounts of all the little doses and then put them into like a cream or, a pill or whatever to meet the exact, amounts that the client needs.
Sounds like you have a pretty important job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I work with, so it's a lot of, sometimes it's like stressful because there's so many details and everyone uses things different. Yep. So like I have a lot of like autoimmune clients, like Hashimoto's or, thyroid issues, that kind of thing. So they need thyroid hormones along with certain supplementation to help like the body heal from the autoimmune, or men who just have like bottomed out testosterone. We've tried some of the natural routes, the diet stuff, it doesn't work. They need testosterone replacement. Or women who are postmenopausal, they don't make hormones anymore. Personally, like once I'm postmenopausal, I'm like, I'll be on hormone replacement. It's the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
It's how we feel young and strong and resilient and how our bodies like thrive.
Yeah.
And so I have, postmenopausal women who want to be on full hormone replacement. So we get, and then it's, we got to test every few months, for a while just to make sure the levels are good. And so, it's a lot of details, a lot of kind of analyzing and.
I mean, it sounds amazing. It sounds like you're doing amazing work. Yeah. Important work. I'm someone that doesn't trust. I don't fully trust Western medicine.
Same. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. So, are you able to accept insurance at all, or is
No.
it not something that?
No, I think the lab may use HSA, like to do the lab work. Okay. So like some of the so now like the lab that I use is like kind of like a walk-in labs place, but it's just a way cheaper route to go. Like the lab panel we use is like 5 pages, and if you were to go to your insurance and say I want these, it would be like a $3,000 panel, but we get it for like $200. You know, so the client is a lot of times just willing to pay the $200 because they're gonna probably have to pay like a fat part of their deductible anyways, or their insurance isn't going to cover it and they're going to be paying like 10 times more. So,
is this something that you are pushing for or no?
With what?
To be able to accept insurance? Or is that not
No,
really a
because it's
fight
not my
you're in?
lab.
Okay.
No,
gotcha.
I looked into just being able to do some of that stuff, and it's a lot.
Too many, yeah.
So I'd rather work with people on like the interim stuff, or I'd probably end up doing more like the business side of things. Which
seems like you're doing all right. You have a decent amount of clients.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get to the point where you're overbooked? You can't take any more?
I'm just more selective, I think, about who I work with.
So
like, if people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I want," you can kind of filter them out. And I'm kind of in the process of doing more of like a questionnaire, like a application sort of thing. Because especially on the healing front, like you'll get people who start and they're just like not checking in, they're not doing follow-ups, they're like half-ass on their diets, and it's like, I can't help you. You're checking in every week, and I can't. You know what I mean? Like you're not helping yourself. Like it's more stressful for me. And
they probably just think that you can just fix them.
Well, yeah, I think they just think, that there's some magic thing about having a health coach, and then like once you start working with me, like I'm just going to be able to like infuse the just like health into you or something.
No.
So
you have to be disciplined yourself in order for someone to help you.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, I think, like I said, to say again, I think that you do an important job, and we need more people like you. Is there a lot of people out there that are doing what you're doing?
I mean, there's more than there used to be.
It's a
but
growing,
there's not a
growing
lot.
industry. Really?
It's a growing industry. I mean, you find a lot of like hormone clinics and anti-aging clinics and stuff around, but I think with my piece of like the natural health side, because I represent a supplement company too, and it's like more of like a pharmaceutical grade, like high grade supplement company. That's what I use to help people heal too, is like I'd rather go the natural route. Your diet, your lifestyle, your nutrition, your training, how much stress do you have in your life, like how much are you in the gym working out, because some people are like doing too much, overstressing their symptoms, under eating. We can't heal your body if you're doing all those things. So I'm not just looking at your hormones, I'm not just looking at your diet, I'm looking at all of it, and I'm in control of the whole thing, because if you miss one aspect or the other, you're there's just too much room for error there. Yeah. So I think that's what sets me apart, is just being able to have, do all of it together, because you need someone who can look at the full picture of everything and not just like one part of it.
For sure.
And I think that's what's kind of wrong with the, Western medical side, is they're also not even really helping people not get sick. They're just handing out prescriptions.
Yeah, there's a lot of dated stuff going on in Western medicine, and refusal to kind of adjust with how we're adjusting as humans.
Right.
Like we're learning more, we're more self-sufficient. We know more about our own health nowadays.
Yeah.
We used to just depend on our doctor
Yep.
to let us know how we're doing. Now we're starting to get our own idea. We don't need.
But it's interesting, because when you go like to Europe,
This is going to get removed off of YouTube, huh? The CDC is going to be like,
no,
shut them down.
I talked about this stuff on YouTube before.
All right, good.
But like when you go like over to Europe and stuff, it's like, oh, hey, you have free healthcare, you have all these things. They don't put minerals in their water. Like they don't have hard water there.
Yep.
They're a healthier country because they don't want to pay for people's health.
Yeah.
They keep them healthier because they don't want to foot the bill.
Yep.
Here, we don't get to stay healthy because they make money when, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of just start to see and understand how the whole, system works, which is kind of scary. But
it is scary, and it's a little disheartening. But
that's why I'm like, okay, you can't. The days are gone where you just go in and listen to what your doctor says. Like, advocate for yourself. Start to like educate yourself. Start to learn. Read a book. Listen to podcasts where people talk about their health and learn something. Like, if you're not feeling good and you're doing everything they tell you, then something's not right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to say it again. I think you have an important job, and I don't think even your profession existed 10 years ago. About that. I mean, it wasn't too much more than that if I'm wrong. But just before we wrap, tell them where can they find you? How can they book with you? How can they fill out the questionnaire? All the information that they need.
Okay. Well, my Instagram is cshepard.ifbb. So that's kind of like my main social media. I am on Facebook too, but Casie Shepherd. I do have a website. It's spectrumwellness.biz, B-I-Z.
Okay.
So I have a lot of information on there too. Contact form. My email's on my social media, but also through my website too. You can contact me. And I just have a few different options in terms of I'm doing hormonal consulting now. If you just want a full like view of what are my labs saying, how can I just be a healthier, better person? What can I take that will help? Or you onboard as a client and work with me weekly, one-on-one.
Okay.
So yeah, several options.
Okay, that's dope. This is really dope. I think what you're doing is dope.
Thank you.
And keep going, and thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
And definitely hit her up.
Thank you.
Might as well. All right, that's it. Another episode of Minnesota's #1 daily show live on Lake Street. I'm Jake Faircloth. Follow me everywhere at Jake Faircloth1.
It ain't that I can't stop, it's that I won't stop. I made a few plays off a flip, now I'm on top. I'm Southside Chief, homie, yeah. What you know about it? Lake Street legend CEO, not the co-founder. What you wanna know about me? I'm so churched up, I'm the last man standing, but I went first up. Most hated, they don't say it when I roll up. The things that people say about me, they don't say close up. Check it, I ain't been to the booth in a minute. Niggas hate the fact that I'm winning. Who makes him the chief of the south side? Oh my nigga, I'm not a lieutenant. When I was in the gym, you wasn't in it. Face ice and my windows is tinted. If I said that shit, then I meant it. Niggas gave me the rules and I bent it.